secured to a structural pole by a heavy bike lock. He is coughing, his lungs still burned by the phosphine gas Walt used to survive the desert encounter. Walt brings a plastic jug of water and a sandwich. He observes the prisoner's habits. Noticing the man avoids the edges of the bread, Walt takes the plate back and uses a kitchen knife to carefully trim the crusts. He returns the food, a small gesture of domesticity, in a room designated for murder. Walt attempts to use logic to avoid the inevitable. He calls Crazy 8, a businessman, and speaks of mutual self-interest. He asks if the distributor can be reasoned with if released. Crazy 8 stares back, recognizing Walt's hesitation. Walt is a chemistry teacher trying to apply professional ethics to a death sentence. The silence in the basement confirms a grim truth. Reason has no place in a survival gamble. Walter White eats breakfast with his wife and son when the phone rings. Jesse Pinkman is on the other end, frantic because their captive has woken up and is trying to escape. Walter maintains a flat expression. He tells Skyler it is an AT&T salesman and hands up. He returns to the table and continues his meal, performing the role of a suburban father. The deception fails. Skyler tracks the phone number and finds Jesse's social media page. During a prenatal appointment, she forces Walter into a corner. To protect his secret meth operation, Walter confesses to a lesser crime. He tells her he is buying marijuana from Jesse to manage the stress of his cancer diagnosis. Skyler takes immediate action. She drives to Jesse's residence and corners him in the driveway. At that exact moment, Jesse is struggling to move a dead body wrapped in plastic behind the house. He is covered in sweat and panic. Skyler does not notice the corpse. She stares Jesse down and identifies herself as the wife of his customer. She informs him that her brother-in-law is a high-ranking DEA agent. She delivers a blunt warning. If Jesse contacts Walter again or sells him another gram of weed, she will trigger a federal investigation. Jesse stands frozen, unable to speak, while a literal murder scene sits yards away. Skyler walks away, convinced she has scared off a low-level pot dealer. She has no idea she just threatened a man disposing of a body, or that her husband is the mastermind Jesse is actually protecting. Hank drives Walter Jr. to a dilapidated motel known as the Crystal Palace. He forces the teenager to witness the physical decay of a drug addict named Wendy. Hank commands her to show her rotting teeth, using the sight as a brutal deterrent against drug use. He lectures the boy on the progression from marijuana to total ruin, unaware that the chemist behind the high-grade meth he hunts is his own brother-in-law. The focus shifts to Walter White, standing in a dark room, concocting a lie over the phone. He tells his pregnant wife, Skyler, that he is working late at the car wash. Skyler interrupts him. She reveals she already called the business and knows he quit 2 weeks ago. The deception is stripped bare. She orders him not to come home tonight and hangs up, leaving Walter exposed in the silence of his own fabrication. In the desert, the DEA arrives at a scorched cook site. Hank searches a modified vehicle and discovers a hidden compartment containing a bag of high-purity meth. The discovery escalates when an agent holds up a professional gas mask found in the brush. Hank realizes he is tracking a sophisticated manufacturer rather than a common street dealer. The investigation moves from the slums to the source. The net tightens around Walter's double life as the physical evidence of his crimes ends up directly in the hands of the man hunting. Walter White stands in a dim basement, facing a man he has locked to a structural post with a heavy bike lock. The captive, a drug dealer named Crazy 8, begins his manipulation. He informs Walter that his partner, Jesse, has already betrayed him to build a false sense of intimacy. Crazy 8 recounts stories of his father's furniture store, attempting to bridge the gap between a criminal and a chemistry teacher. Walter listens, looking for a reason not to commit murder. He previously brought the man a sandwich on a yellow plate, but collapsed from a coughing fit, shattering the ceramic. After a long internal struggle, Walter decides to show mercy. He prepares to take the key downstairs and set the prisoner free. However, his scientific mind demands verification. He goes to the kitchen trash and retrieves the broken pieces of the yellow plate. He assembles them on the counter, like a forensic puzzle. Every jagged edge matches except for one. A large, sharp shard is missing. Walter stares at the empty space in the reconstructed plate. He realizes the sentimental stories were a distraction. Crazy 8 has weaponized the missing piece. Walter returns to the basement, his hesitation replaced by cold resolve. He confronts the man about the hidden shard. When Crazy 8 lunges with the weapon, Walter grabs the bike lock chain and pulls with his entire body weight. He ignores the shard piercing his leg and maintains the pressure until the dealer stops breathing. In this basement, the high school teacher disappears and a cold-blooded strategist takes his place.
Skylar confronts Walter in their kitchen, her eyes fixed on the massive hematoma surrounding his left eye. The skin is torn and discolored. She immediately reaches for the phone to call the police, convinced he is in grave danger. Walter moves to block her. He ignores her fear and instead criticizes her temperament. He calls her behavior over the top and passive-aggressive, effectively stalling her attempt to seek help. He turns her concern into a character flaw. He then delivers a fabricated sequence of events. He tells her he met a coworker at a bar to discuss business. He describes a professional disagreement that escalated. He claims an older man hit him in the face. Walter emphasizes that he did not retaliate because of the man's advanced age. He frames the violence as a pathetic office dispute rather than a cartel execution. He links the incident to the mundane stress of his job at the car wash, using his perceived midlife fragility as a shield. The strategy works. Skylar puts the phone down and stops asking for the truth. She goes to the refrigerator and retrieves a bag of frozen peas. She presses the cold plastic against his bruised face. The evidence of a life and death struggle is now hidden behind a domestic remedy. Walter stands in the quiet house, holding the vegetables to his eye. He has successfully replaced a criminal reality with a suburban lie, neutralizing his wife's suspicion through a cold, methodical manipulation of the facts. Skylar White intercepts a phone call from Walter. She stops him from discussing their business acquisition on a recorded line, warning him about the permanent evidence he is creating. She demands he stop using the words car wash over the phone. Skylar then arrives at the car wash to meet the owner, Bogdan. She sits in his office while he attempts to intimidate her. Bogdan asks if she is prepared to scrub floors and handle chemicals that will ruin her skin. Skylar remains silent and opens a professional folder. She presents a detailed financial audit. She cites an average of 19 cars per hour. She adds the projected revenue from hand waxes and detailing services. Skylar then applies an industry standard multiplier to the annual cash flow. She subtracts overhead, maintenance costs, and depreciation. She concludes the valuation at exactly $879,000. Bogdan rejects the offer immediately. He counters with a price of $20 million. He explains that he knows her identity and remembers Walter. Bogdan lists Walter's past actions: quitting without notice, damaging equipment, and shouting insults. He tells Skylar that Walter is a coward who sent a woman to do his work. Bogdan repeats the $20 million demand and orders her to leave. Skylar does not argue. She packs her documents, stands up, and walks out of the office. She has established the opening move in a financial war.
Jesse Pinkman pulls up to Walter White's car, desperate to prove his worth. He hands over a bag of blue crystals, claiming he followed the formula to the letter. Walter does not offer praise. He holds the bag up to the light, his eyes narrowing with immediate disapproval. He demands to know the specifics of the process. Jesse admits he used 2 reflux condensers to monitor the pH levels, but Walter is unimpressed. He identifies the reduction agent as mercury aluminum amalgam before Jesse even says it. Walter's critique is cold and surgical. He points to the diameter of the crystals and the cloudy tint of the product. He tells Jesse that his struggle with distillation is obvious. To Walter, this is not a masterpiece. It is shoddy, amateur work. He refuses to let his name be attached to an inferior product, calling the results embarrassing. When Jesse argues that his customers love the samples, Walter dismisses them as addicts with no sense of quality. He walks away, leaving Jesse humiliated in the parking lot. The power dynamic shifts later on a deserted road. A car pulls alongside Walter's vehicle. A man throws a bag containing stacks of cash through the window. It is half the payment from